Hello everyone, welcome to SoundBridge, and today in this video we wanted to share with you what we have been doing these days. We are working hard and we are listening to you, and we have added many of the wanted features that you actually wrote about in the forums and through support emails. So today I just wanted to walk you through all of the progress that we had so far and just show you what is new so far, because we are still working, we're still adding features, but these are the ones that I can show you right now. And I can assure you a lot of the bugs have been also fixed, especially the one that everybody usually writes about. It's about the noise gate that caused the crash. That's already fixed. I can even demonstrate that. So I can just drag in a noise gate on any track, and as you can see, it will work. It will do its job. Let's continue, and let me just show you the features that we have so far. I'm going to start, just down the list in no particular order. First of all, I wanted to show you that we actually added a facelift switch on each one of the tracks. So you can faceflip an entire track. So far, you could have done that inside of the audio editor, and you could have just, flipped the phase of a certain block of audio. But that was really intensive for people who wanted to flip, let's say, a lot of recordings of whatever, vocals or drums. So this way, you actually have the possibility to do that on the track for everything that's going out of that track. And you also still have the possibility to do it on every single block of audio separately. Now, a very interesting feature that we also added was the automation curves. So right now, you can actually curve the automation. And as you can see, it can really go, quite hard into that exponential progress. So you can curve the automations, and that's available for everything. So you can do the same thing for MIDI, and any MIDI controller can also be, handled the same. Now, another feature requested by a lot of people was the virtual keyboard that you could play with your computer keyboard. As you can see right here, we have another icon, small icon right here of a small keyboard. And if you just press your caps lock on your keyboard, you can see that lights up. Of course, the caps lock on your keyboard physically is going to light up, and you will know that you're in the mode where the entire row of starting with the letter A and starting with the letter Q are going to be dedicated to the virtual keyboard. Of course, you can switch, as you can see. You can play. I'm doing that with my keyboard. You see, that's the input, computer keyboard. And change octaves. And it's going to give you a nice readout right there of the octave. You can change the velocity at which you're playing, and you can play chords. So another feature that was maybe not so much requested, but it's connected to people having issues that don't know why they're having issues, is the plugin delay compensation, which we introduced. That's fully developed, so I can display that feature. I have a track right here that has a plugin on it. It has a lot of latency, introducing a lot of latency. I can even make it more, maximum. Yeah, that's 1.5 seconds. That's unseen, at least by me in the plugin world. That's a lot of latency. So I'm gonna duplicate that track, and on the other one, I'm actually gonna delete that plugin. So, so far as it was, you would expect one of these, actually this one, which has the plugin, to be delayed by this much time. And you can see that now we display latency of every single plugin within the plugin, and we display the total amount of latency right up here on the track. Yeah, and I'm going to show you more about that feature just now, just a second. So we have these two tracks, and one of them is like 1.5 seconds later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play them both, and I'm going to just flip one in phase. We should be hearing nothing. Yep, so both of them are playing, but since they're completely opposite phase, we don't hear anything, any signal. That means they're like sample accurate, synced together. And I'll flip the phase back so you can hear that they are actually playing, both of them. It's both of them. Exactly. So that's been introduced, and along with automatic plugin latency compensation, you can actually introduce latency yourself. So I could actually, if I wanted to, let's say I had these two tracks and they were different tracks. Just for an example, I'm just gonna add some, latency. I'm gonna make this track start sooner. because let's say I want that. I want it to start, I don't know, 76 milliseconds sooner. So you see, now you can manipulate the latency of each single track by yourself. So you can add or reduce latency depending on if you maybe have some external hardware that produces latency. So whatever is the case, if you wanted to add latency or reduce, subtract latency from a certain track, you can do that manually. So you can manually adjust how much every single track is going to be playing sooner than it actually is on the timeline or later. Now, the next feature is audio recording latency compensation. What that means is that, like in every other DAW, you have the input latency and the output latency of your audio interface. That means if you play a certain song, it's going to take this much time for it to be converted from digital to analog for you to hear it. That's how big the buffer is. And then if you're recording anything along with that song, let's say I'm playing the song, recording a guitar, and I'm playing the guitar, for that guitar that I'm playing to be converted from analog into digital and written down into my DAW, it's going to take this much time, the input latency. That means that overall, those two, the song you already have and the guitar you just recorded, are off by this much, by the overall latency, by the sum of those two. So 49.25 milliseconds in this case. And what we introduced is that time is now automatically compensated. You don't have to worry about it at all. You just do your thing as you did so far, but based on the requests that we have from users who really didn't want to always push their buffer size lower or higher because they had a lot of plugins and they wanted to record with a lot of plugins still in the system that are, stressing their CPU. Now you can actually record, and that overall latency is going to be, adjusted by itself. So what we also added on top of that automatic recording latency compensation, compensating for the overall latency, we added the recording latency offset that you can manually adjust yourself. So if you have an input from a certain hardware device or a synth that's coming in late, you can always adjust it or nudge your recording back and forth as you please by an amount of 300 milliseconds. Now, this is going to help some people a lot because not everybody is using ASIO drivers. So if you're using some MME or Windows Direct Sound or Wasapi drivers, anyways, any other driver that's not reporting its input and output latency correctly, and then when you record, things are not exactly, on the bar, on the beat, this manual compensation is going to let you, adjust for that. Now, the next feature I want to show you is this gain automation. So let me bounce this. Yeah, make it shorter. So what I wanted to show you, you know already that we had the fade in and the fade out. Yeah, just like that. And you could change those as you wanted, like that. You can make them exponential, logarithmic. Anyways, what we added more on top of, the gain value that you can change, so the gain slider for that single audio block. What you can do now is on top of that, you can click this button right here, and now you can draw automation for the gain, just like that. I can draw automation like that. And that automation right there, you can see it. So even if I turn it off, so I'm not editing that, I can still see it in the sequencer. And that's kind of, similar to this, to any MIDI controller that we are writing on top of, MIDI blocks, just like that. And they all, of course, have curvable automation. That was another one that was requested a lot. Now, what we also did is add a global bypass switch right here. So let's say I also had some effects right there. If I just click right here, they all go off. And that's it. Of course, automatic latency compensation is also bypassed because they are bypassed. So we thought of everything. What we also did, based on how many users, reported having problems with it, is removing the full rescan button from right here. If you check out your version of SoundBridge, you can see that you have that button right there. That's the button that is still present, of course, in the VST section of the preferences. So you can still do a full rescan if you really wanted to. And you really need that in only extreme situations. So since you don't need that so much, and since it would, start rescanning all of your VST plugins, and some of you really have a lot of them, like I do, and you really don't want to wait for that much time. Again, just because by mistake you clicked the button, we removed it from the user interface right here because a lot of people had that problem clicking that button by mistake and just, being sentenced to wait until all of their plugins are rescanned. Another feature we're really excited to bring you is how we can now manipulate group tracks. So you can collapse a group track, and you can try this out in your version of SoundBridge that you have installed on your computer. Collapse it, and you can do nothing to these. You can just click and that's it. Right now, as you can see, I can select them, and I can also lasso select parts. That's going to make it much easier to select all of this and then, let's say, copy or duplicate, copy and paste, or do whatever. Or even, if you wanted to, cut like this. And it would cut all the blocks that are inside. Yeah. Now, another good thing about it is that, let's say I have this track with a lot of automation in it. As you can see, if I click this gets selected when I'm outside of the group. So if I move that, let's see what's going to happen, like this. So I'm going to move it, and let's see what happened. You see, automation moved with it, because it's assuming that you want to move the same sound that you just heard. You want to just move it elsewhere. Now, you could do this. And if I held Control, it would just move it, you see, and copy the automation. It wouldn't just pull it out and leave a blank space right there, as it did. So if I'm copying with the automation. If I'm moving with the automation. And the interesting thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but if I just move these, when I go back in, you can see that this part of the automation has been cut, so it'd be cropped, and only this part has been pulled out. And the small part that was inside has just been moved. Now, if I was to take this audio file and you see, I didn't see this automation right there, you see, and I just moved it, it would just move the file without the automation. But if I want to make sure that I'm moving the file and everything underneath, I'm just holding Shift and it moves all the automation that was there. So that works for like single channels. If you purposefully want to move the automation, you just hold Shift. That's it. If you're just, handling like an entire group, we made it so that you don't have to think about it. That's the whole sound. You want to move all of it. Yeah, you just move it and the automation moves with it. That's it. But when you're, working on a single piece of audio, we wanted to just give you an option so that you can move the audio without the automation. Now, one more thing that we have is that on return tracks, if I had any, let's say, automation on a return track for whatever reason I wanted to, and let's say it was panning, or I could even copy some. Let's say I copy this automation to like that. Okay, so if I had this automation right there and it's collapsed, right now I can see that I have automation on my return track. That will mean that if I had my track all done, all collapsed, just like this, and you see, I don't even have to see it, but a good thing is that it is there. It's visible. So I know I have some automation there. Because it's a return track, usually it's just shun aside. And if you did something crazy like this, you'd really want to see it. The point is, if I just do Control A, everything is selected. And if I move a piece of my song, everything moves. All the automation anywhere in the song, everything moves with it. So guys, I hope you like this demonstration. We were just excited to show you all that we're working on, and more is to come. This is just something, to tease you a bit and to show you that good things are coming. And we're working hard to make SoundBridge even better for you. So enjoy making music and sit tight. As I said, we're a small group of people. It's just, 4 of us working on the application itself. So, be patient. We are doing this with love, and hopefully you will love it as well. See you soon.